Good morning, ladies. I hope you are having a great day, a great Tuesday if you're listening to this on Tuesday. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you about how my day is this morning. So, I'm sitting here trying to record this episode and get everything ready. I'm like, yeah, I'm pumped up, ready to go, like we always are when we're ready to do something. And for some reason, my microphone would not work. So, I'm like, I don't understand why it is not working. Well, 20 minutes later, I figure out that I have plugged in the wrong cord to my computer to sit here and record this episode. So that is how my day is going today. And you just have to laugh it off. But after I finally figured it out, I'm better now. And here we go. We're going to record this episode. The question I want to talk about this week is one that I find a lot of women struggle with, but I also find myself struggling with it all of the time. I feel like this question, every time it is asked to me, I just don't know what to say. I don't know how to answer the question, I guess you could say. It's just such a hard question, and I think it's a hard question for a lot of women to talk about. So the question is that I get asked all the time is, go ahead and tell me about you. Who are you? So today I posed the question, who are you? Most of the time, if you're like me, you begin by saying, I'm from Hayhira, Georgia, and I'm a mom, and I'm an author, and I'm all these things. But that's not really what they're asking. Why is this question so hard for us as women or us as individuals to answer? Why don't we know who we are? Why can we not figure out what to say in these moments when someone asks you, who are you? Whether they come right out and say, who are you, or what are you about, however you want to phrase it, why do we, the people that know us the best, which is ourself, how come we cannot answer this question? It just boggles my mind, and that's why this week I really want to talk about it. There's many different reasons why people don't know who they are, or they don't know what to say when someone asks them a question like this. But some of the biggest ones that I know is they, number one, don't even know who they are, or they just feel like when somebody asks them that question, they're asking them what they are, not who they are. A lot of people, when you pose this question to them and say, hey, who are you? They say they're a mom. They say they're a law enforcement officer. They say that they're a wife. But that's not who you are. Those are parts of who you are. But being those things are just what makes up a little piece of actually who you are as a person. So why do we lose our way? Why do we lose our identity? Or why do we never really know what to say when this question is posed to you? We get so bogged down on being that mom, being that law enforcement officer, being that wife, or whatever you are when somebody asks you who you are. And we forget that it's more to it than just being those specific things. Those are types. That's what you are. You're a dog mom. You're a mom. You're a boy mom. However you describe yourself, those are parts of you. But that doesn't make you make up who exactly you are as a person. I think we get lost when we become all these things, whether it's a mom or whoever you become, that we forget deep down, what are we? We identify ourselves and who we are as I'm going to call it a subtype, a mom, a law enforcement officer, a dog mom, a boy mom, but that's not deep down who we are. And then amongst all of that, when we become these things, we become the wife, we become the girlfriend, we become the law enforcement officer, we become, the whatever that is for you, we become those things and we forget who we are. We forget what we believe, what our morals, what our values, what are we all about. We forget that. We put it aside and we only identify with that one thing, or maybe several different things, because I identify myself as a whole bunch of different things. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a dog mom, I'm a cat mom, I'm all these different things. I'm a daughter, but that's not who I am. But I get confused with that sometimes, because when people are asking us who we are, or at least when they're asking me who I am, I want to identify as those things. But it's not, I'm going to say, a noun that who you are. Let me rephrase that. You are not a noun. You are more than a noun. Who you are isn't a noun, a mom, a wife. That's not who you are. Who you are, when people ask you that question, you're an adjective. And for all of you that have graduated from taking the English language a long time ago, like I did, an adjective is caring, courageous, good. You're things like that. That's who makes up who you are. And when you break it down like that, I can tell you exactly, I'm strong, I'm courageous, I am a good person, I'm very caring. That's who makes up who I am as a person. That's what makes people either shy away from me or people that come to me. It's the adjectives. It's not being a specific group, if that makes sense. But when we get into being these specific groups and we start identifying ourselves as a specific group instead of exactly who we are, we're losing ourselves. And somewhere in the midst of all of that, we forget what we're all about. And when we forget what we're all about and what we believe, what our morals, what our values are, and what makes us who we are, that's when we lose ourselves. And it's so hard for women to understand that, and even for me to understand that at some time and some points in my life, and sometimes even still to today, because I still struggle with who are you question all the time. And what happens when we don't know who we are or what we're about? We lose our identity, and then we start thinking that our life should be more, or that maybe we should be doing more, or maybe, we get depressed because all we are is that wife, that law enforcement officer, that dog mom. And we start to believe that we should be more, but truly deep down you are more. You're more. You are more than what they say when they ask you, who are you? And you identify as one specific thing or maybe a few specific things. You're more than that. But you get this notion inside of you that you're not more than that. And that's where the problem lies. And then, obviously, when you have life-changing experiences, for me, obviously, my child loss, when I got married, when I had kids for the first time, those are things that really changed my life, changed my view in society. And it's just like that with everybody. It changes everything. When things like that happen, we have to rediscover ourselves, because I truly believe that you cannot make anybody happy unless you deep down know who you are and can make your own self happy first. And I know that's a cliche and everybody says that, oh, well, you got to make yourself happy before you make anybody else happy. I understand that completely. I've heard it a million times, and I've actually rolled my eyes even during this episode, me saying that. But it's part of it. It's part of growing and becoming who you want to be and living that serenity dream. So we're halfway, a little bit less than halfway into this episode. How many of you guys are going, you know what, I really don't know who I am? Like, if I had to sit here and think about it, how I describe myself when someone says, who are you? I'm a mom, I'm a worker, I'm all these things, but can you describe yourself with an adjective? Can you describe yourself and what you're all about? Probably not. There's a lot of you that can't can't do that, and that's okay too, because again, I've said it, I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of this all the time. But how do you figure out who you are if you don't know who you are? If you got lost after you got married, or after you had children, or after you lost your child, how do you figure out who you are and what you're about? Well, I'm going to tell you how. Obviously, I'm doing this by sitting down and breaking out my journal. If I had to do this myself again, and obviously I told you I have had to do this before, and I still have to remind myself over and over again of my words that I describe myself with. But first and foremost is just to sit down, take out a piece of paper and a pencil, and think about more than being that mom. Like, what about being a mom makes you happy? Think of it like that. So for me, I love being a mom. I love being able to teach Caleb and Bella. I love being able to care for them and show them love. So for me, caring, loving, and teaching, I love to teach, are going to be some of my words that I'm going to use. As in my loss, when I look back at my loss and everything that I've been through and everything that I continue to go through daily, which, like today, as I'm doing this, I heard a song and I got teary-eyed. I say thinking of the song, but thinking of Caleb listening to the song, just because it's okay to show emotion. But I'm very emotional. I'm very caring. I'm very loving. And I had my little cry session, or my little teary eye session. I actually didn't have alligator tears, but I had my teary eye session. And then I shook it off and I figured out what my trigger was. And then I went on my day. And I've had a really good day today. Obviously, I had a moment of, thinking of him and getting teary-eyed. But that just goes to show me another adjective that I use to describe myself: strong and courageous. Because each day I get up and I fight the world knowing that I'm doing it with one less child. That I have one child here on earth and I have one child in heaven that gained his angel wings in 2012. But I get up every day, so that makes me courageous and that makes me strong. So when you're looking at that piece of paper and you're taking that piece of paper out, I want you to fold it in half. On one side, I want you to identify what you are. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a law enforcement officer, you're a pet mom. And I want you to write all those things on the left-hand side. And then I want you to go over to the right-hand side, and with each one of those things that you've identified of what you do, I want you to go and think about why you like doing those things. Okay? So the example that I just gave you, I'm a mom to an angel and I'm a mom to a child. What do I love? Why do I love those things? What do I love the best about those things? I could give you a whole bunch of negative, but I can give you a whole bunch of positive too. So we're going to do positive instead of negative, but I could give you a whole bunch of negative too. But the positive of it, I'm going to sit there and I want to write down what the positive is. I like caring for my child. I'm a loving person. I love giving love to them. I love teaching them. And you're going to write all of that stuff on the left-hand side and do that for every single thing you identify as. For a wife, for a pet mom, for me, a survivor of child loss. And you're going to write down everything that you can describe that the reason why you love, or the reason why, child loss, you can't love anything about it, but love, for me, when I say my child loss and I put that down on the left-hand side, I always think of what it has turned me into. And for me, after years of going through my child loss, I don't have the bad and the ugly anymore. I just have what it's done to me. It's made me appreciate life more. It's made me stronger. I'm courageous. And those are the things. So if you're not at that spot in your child loss, then I wouldn't put it down on your left-hand side. But again, wife, why do you like being a wife or a girlfriend? You don't have to be a wife, or a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever you want to say. Why do you like being that? When someone asks you who you are, why do you pull that out of your hat? There's a reason why you identify as those things. And once you write down all of those things and breaking down why you like being those things, then, only then, those words on your right-hand side tells who you are as a person. So once you figure out all of those adjectives, then I want you to go back again. And I want you to go back to those things again and think of more things that you actually are, who you are, why you like those things so much. And by the end of it, you're going to have a huge list of adjectives, mostly adjectives. It should be one word to describe who you are. And once you have those, that's who you really are. So when someone makes the comment to you, who are you? The next question to them should be, who am I, or what do I do? Because there's a distinct difference between the two of them. But that's the way to try to figure out who you are. Who are you? So basically what you're doing is you're trying to write all these things down to pull out who you are as a person, instead of this title that we give ourselves. And we give ourselves those titles when we have big events in our life. And unfortunately, those titles stick with us. But basically what we're doing, we're training the mind to sit there and think about you being more than just the wife, the mom, the whatever you want to fill in the blank to be. Because you are more than just what that is. And this is the way I think of it too. If someone asks you who you are and you tell them something, but that something can be taken away at a moment's notice, then that's not the word that you need. That's not that adjective. That's not a word that describes you as a person. Because who you are as a person can never be taken away from you. That is you. That is your one true thing. Boom, that's you. Nobody can take that away from you. And I notice a lot of times, and a lot of people struggling, and I'll use an example. Like recently we had a coworker that is retiring from the job, and he has been 20 plus years been working at it. And he's put everything into being that, and his identity is his job. And now that he is out of the job, he is struggling. He is struggling so bad because for so many years he had identified as that job. And that job was never his identity. The job was only part of what made up who he was, possibly making up part of his identity. But it was never who he was. But he went 20 plus years that his identity was the job. And we don't want to do that. We want a job that pays our bills, that makes us somewhat happy, that makes us, get our serenity dream, I guess you could say. You want a job like that, and you want to enjoy it and feel like it's your purpose. But your identity should never be wrapped around that job completely. Although sometimes some of those adjectives are going to be. It's kind of like that thing that you hear a lot, that you are who you hang around, or you are what you eat, and You hear all those from time to time. So you're going to mold some of those adjectives to your job, like law enforcement. Integrity is going to be something that is high on your adjective scale, on what makes you up, who you are. Integrity is going to be one big thing. You're going to be courageous because you're doing a job that like nobody really wants to do. So those are going to be words that are wrapped within your job, but it doesn't make you up who you are. And I can't stress enough that family is always first. And obviously, everybody that knows me and everybody that has been in my group, everybody that has somewhat been around or has seen my posts and stuff like that, know that family always comes first to me. I won't let my job become who I am. And there's a saying, and I'm going to try to get it right. I work to play and not play to work, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the phrase is, but basically saying that I work so I can have fun, that I can have the things that I want, that I can live my serenity dream. But I don't not have my serenity dream because I'm all the time working. And that's what you have to do. Don't wrap your identity around those things, because what it ends up doing is it makes you feel empty. Because now your identity become those things, and the mom, the worker, the pet mom, and you don't know who you are, and you feel empty, and you have all these feelings of not being good enough, not doing enough, wanting to be more than you are. And there's a difference between having a serenity dream and having the feeling that you're empty because you don't know your identity. They're two different things. But if you ask me, you have to know who you are before you can make a serenity dream. Because how do you know that your dreams are truly your dreams if you don't even know what you truly want? Kind of like we talked about before, like, what do you want? It's the same thing. Who are you as a person? You have to know that. And, we always say, oh, well, I'll figure it out later. Yeah, I know who I am. But do you really? If someone came up to you, could you actually speak out who you are? Could you scream it to the world that I am this? Could you do it? Some people can. Sometimes I can't. But we just need to be aware of that we need to know who we are as a person. And it is so important. It is so important moving through our daily life to know why we do what we do. Because a lot of the things that we do and the ways we react and the ways that we deal with things deal with who we are as a person. And if we don't know who we are as a person, how in the world can we take on the world? We can't. You know why I know we can't? Because you'll be in the same place I was. I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted, who I was. I didn't know anything. And that's not to say that I'm perfect in any of it, because I am not, because I have my days, and I have where people ask me who I am, and I have no clue who I am. But you have to know who you are as a person, and you have to figure it out, because it's one of the most important things to change your life or to live your dreams, is to know who you are as a person and what you are and are not going to accept. And that's all part of it. So let's recap. This week, I want you to answer the question, who are you? Who are you as a person? Take out that sheet of paper and write down everything that you identify as, meaning that noun that we were talking about earlier. And then on that right side of that paper, I want you to identify by the adjectives. Why do you like being those nouns? What is it about them that you feel is the reason why you like being those things? And once you do that, I want you to go back through it again. Every single noun, I want you to go back through and identify more words that you are. And if you have to do it a third time, do it a third time. And get that big list of adjectives. And that's going to make up who you are as a person. That's the reason why you do things the way you do, or you act the way you do. It's because that's who you are. And if you are going through and you see these adjectives and you don't like some of these adjectives, guess what? We can change it. Not me, you have to change it, but you can change that part or that aspect of your life. And it's kind of like the same thing where you get married, you're a set of adjectives, and then you get divorced, and you might be salty, there might be a lot of things going on, and you can change those aspects that you don't like anymore. So if you see an aspect that you don't like, you can change that. You don't have to be that negative if that's what you see when you start working on this week. But the biggest thing is if you identify these negatives that you don't like about yourself, if you find some adjectives that you're like, don't like being that, you just have to make the decision today, like we spoke about before, and decide, today's the day I'm going to start working towards it, moving forward from whatever that negative is. And it's not a bad thing. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be like you tell yourself, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be that person, that adjective anymore. It's not going to be like tomorrow you wake up and it's gone. It's something that you're going to have to work towards over and over again. And that's a whole another episode, trying to figure out how and what ways you can change those things. But for right now, identify those things and identify what you like about who you are, what you don't like about who you are, because you're going to have some of those negative things. Everybody has them. So do that this week. Identify who you are as a person. And I would love if you are in my group. My group is on Facebook, Women Surviving Child Loss. I would love to see lists of your adjectives. And I would love to keep discussing more about this. But yeah, I'll leave that on you because some people don't like talking about their personal stuff. But if you want to discuss it, find me. Let's discuss your things that you see that you like about you or who you are as a person. If you're in the business group, if you're in the business group, or if you're on Instagram, post a comment down below the episode, because I always list an episode when a new episode comes up. Put your adjectives in there. Nobody knows what they are, but put your adjectives in there and tag me, and let's talk about it. Let's have a bigger discussion than just this 30-minute track right now. Let's discuss it more, because that's what's going to help you grow as a person. These podcasts are used to help you start figuring out like certain things that you can work on. But the real work is sitting there and thinking about it and going over it and having other people talk to you. That's what makes these podcasts worth it. So with that being said, I try to keep these around 20, 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 40 minutes. So that's what I'm going to give you guys this week. So the question that I posed this week is, who are you? And I want you to figure out who you are this week. And don't stop until you figure out who you are. Most people, it's not going to take that long, but it's taking the time to do it. And you're worth taking the time to do this, to figure out who you are, and to keep moving forward towards those dreams and those aspirations that you have. With that being said, I thank you guys for listening to this episode and making it to the end. Obviously, you can follow me on several different platforms. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I have a small YouTube channel that I'm trying to work on, but that's a whole nother story, but we're getting there. We're getting there, you guys. Pinterest. I'm actually on Pinterest too, so you guys can follow me anywhere. If you would like to pick up a copy of my book, you can pick up a copy. Just Google it, Mama You Don't Heal, in Google, and you can find it at several different places. But with that being said, you guys have a wonderful weekend and be safe and be brave, my warriors.